Happening is MPs have been meeting in rooms all across Parliament Hill, and they're being asked to sign their names to what amounts to a pledge to stand together in calling for Trudeau to resign.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau could be in trouble. Some Liberal members of Parliament have issued a deadline.
Justin Trudeau's world is crumbling. The once beloved Prime Minister now faces a shocking revolt within his own party, with MPs demanding his resignation by October 28th. How did Canada's golden boy fall so far, so fast? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. In this video, we'll expose the scandals, broken promises, and epic failures that have turned Trudeau from media darling to national disgrace. You won't believe the bombshell evidence that's making even die-hard Liberals turn their backs on their leader. Is this the end of Trudeau's reign? The Liberal Party is in chaos as an unprecedented revolt unfolds against Justin Trudeau. A staggering 80 Liberal MPs are now demanding the Prime Minister's resignation, sending shockwaves through Canadian politics. These lawmakers have issued a shocking ultimatum. Trudeau must step down by October 28th or face the consequences.
And people have had enough. They've tuned him out. They want him to go. I can't tell you the number of people that have said,
resolve in delivering for Canadians and resolve in winning the next election.
The rebellion reached a boiling point during a closed-door meeting that left attendees stunned. Liberal MPs confronted Trudeau directly, unleashing a torrent of frustration and anger. One insider described the scene as explosive, with longtime supporters turning their backs on their once beloved leader. This internal conflict is unlike anything the Liberal Party has faced before. In the past, leadership challenges were more subtle, often playing out behind the scenes. But now, the dissent is out in the open, with MPs publicly criticizing Trudeau's leadership and calling for change. Trudeau's initial response to the resignation demands was defiant. He dismissed the calls as desperate attempts by a vocal minority to undermine his leadership. But his words only seemed to fuel the fire, deepening the divide within the party. The growing rift is tearing the Liberals apart. On one side, Trudeau loyalists argue that he's still the party's best hope for maintaining power. On the other, a growing number of MPs believe he's become a liability that could cost them the next election. So just how bad is it for Trudeau? The numbers are staggering. Of the 158 Liberal MPs in Parliament, a whopping 80 have now turned against him. That's more than half of his own party calling for his resignation. But what happens if Trudeau refuses to step down? The consequences could be catastrophic for both him and the Liberal Party. We're talking about the potential for a full-scale party split, with rebel MPs potentially breaking away to form their own faction.
He's too afraid to have a carbon tax election. Right. Let's have a compromise here. Why don't we have a housing tax election?
Are putting Toronto at risk. This year there have been 126 more shootings in Toronto compared to last year, and Peel Regional...
And that's just the beginning. While Liberal MPs wage war against Trudeau inside Parliament, a perfect storm of crises threatens to drown his government entirely. Scandal after scandal has battered the Prime Minister, leaving his reputation in tatters and Canadians fuming. But there's one crisis that's hitting voters where it hurts most, and it might just be the final nail in Trudeau's political coffin. Let's start with the economy. Under Trudeau's leadership, Canada's financial outlook has gone from bad to worse. Skyrocketing inflation is eating away at people's savings, while housing costs have spiraled out of control. The middle class, once Trudeau's biggest cheerleaders, now struggle to make ends meet. And don't even get us started on the carbon tax fiasco, a policy that's left many Canadians feeling like they're being punished for simply trying to heat their homes. But if you think that's bad, wait until you hear about the healthcare disaster. Canada's medical system, once the pride of the nation, is now on life support. Patients are waiting months, sometimes even years, for basic procedures. Hospitals are understaffed, with burnt-out doctors and nurses fleeing the profession in droves.
Are the most advanced effort that we have seen to this point, and it's really escalated throughout this week with Justin Trudeau overseas at this summit.
I think we still have some stuff to sort out, but I think it was a great conversation. People were honest and weren't doing it as a whisper.
Trudeau promised to fix healthcare, but instead, he's left Canadians wondering if they'll ever see a doctor again. As if that wasn't enough, Trudeau's government is facing serious questions about national security. Opposition parties are sounding the alarm over allegations of foreign interference in Canadian elections. Critics say Trudeau's team has left gaping holes in our defenses against outside meddling. It's got people asking, is Trudeau more concerned with his image than protecting our democracy? All these failures have taken a sledgehammer to public trust in Trudeau. Canadians who once saw him as a beacon of hope now view him as a bumbling incompetent at best and a corrupt politician at worst. The media, which used to fawn over Trudeau's every move, has turned on him with a vengeance. Every day brings new headlines exposing his failures and amplifying calls for his resignation. So just how bad have Trudeau's approval ratings gotten? Brace yourselves, because the numbers are shocking.
The government is consistently implementing policies that stack the deck in their favor for the 2019 election.
Canada's Justin Trudeau has landed in fresh trouble with his own party members asking him to step down as Prime Minister. And this comes after the Liberals lost 2 special parliamentary polls.
Recent polls show the Liberals trailing the Conservatives by a staggering 19 points. But it gets worse. 2/3 of Canadian voters, including a huge chunk of Liberal supporters, think Trudeau should step down. He's gone from political rock star to public enemy #1 faster than you can say people kind. The consequences of Trudeau's epic fall from grace extend far beyond Canada's borders. Once hailed as a progressive icon on the world stage, he's now become an international embarrassment. Other leaders are starting to distance themselves, leaving Canada increasingly isolated on the global scene. If Trudeau doesn't turn things around soon, he might not just destroy his own career, he could drag Canada's reputation down with him. Justin Trudeau's political career hangs by a thread. The Liberal Party is in shambles, torn apart by internal rebellion and public disgrace.
Incumbent on me and all my colleagues to do what we think is best for our party.
Be a little bit too simplistic to say, well, change the leader. But there's another option, and that is change what the leader leads.
With 80 of his own MPs demanding his resignation, Trudeau faces a crisis unlike any in recent Canadian history. The October 28th deadline looms large, threatening to shatter the party's unity and possibly end Trudeau's leadership for good. This moment isn't just about one man's political fate. It's a turning point for Canadian politics. The scandals, economic woes, and healthcare failures under Trudeau have eroded public trust to an unprecedented degree. Canadians are angry, frustrated, and demanding change. As the clock ticks down, one question remains. Will Trudeau step aside gracefully, or will his stubbornness drag the Liberal Party, and possibly Canada itself, down with him? The future of the nation hangs in the balance. Who will lead Canada into its next chapter?